Hello, and welcome to this episode of Loudred. This is Loudred. Look at him. There he is. The last video about the leaks, I didn't realize we're not as readily out there, so y'all crushed it. And so if you're new here, hi, I'm Jonah David. Please stick around. I post videos weekly for the most part, and my videos are dorky and pretty stupid and sometimes intelligent and other times not so much. So yeah, we're just gonna get straight into things here. So I took ears and Loudred, and I don't remember a sound-based Pokemon in Generation 1 or 2. The first sound-based, again, that's not a type, but like the sound-based Pokemon that released, Whismur, Loudred, Exploud. And so I started to think about Loudred because my ears were popping, and then I started to look up why ears pop. And I'm going to talk about why ears pop because I think it's really interesting. And then I'm going to connect it to Loudred because I want to do Pokemon stuff and I'm a nerd and I can do whatever I want. So Loudred has been in the anime a couple of times. And when he's in the anime, he does a thing that we don't see that often. And it is roar to the point where it moves stuff. And so show you a clip where he roars and Team Rocket goes flying. Roll it.
Tracy, something wrong?
Welcome back. So yeah, so he moves stuff with his voice. And so yeah, so I want to talk about sonic waves, sound waves, and Loudred as a whole. First and foremost, we're going to be talking about Loudred's roar, right? Because it's kind of different. We should first kind of go into Sword and Shield first. So in Pokemon Sword, it says Loudred's ears serve as speakers, and they can put out sound waves powerful enough to blow away a house. So sound waves, and it pushes things. But this is the one that I care about. Pokemon Shield, it says, the force of this Pokemon's loud voice isn't just sound. It's also the wave of air pressure that blows opponents away and damages them. Its ears are speakers that make its roar even louder. We have that its sound waves push things and can blow away a house and opponents and stuff. And then we have that it's not just that it's sound waves, it's that it's moving air pressure itself. Moving on to Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, it says the shock waves from its cries can tip over trucks, and it stomps its feet to power up. But in Pokemon X, it says it shouts loudly by inhaling air and then uses its muscles to exhale. So it takes in air, it uses its muscles, so we're not even using the ears anymore. It uses its really strong muscles and it explodes. So it's is it ears or is it muscles? I don't know, we'll talk about it. And then the final one is Pokemon Emerald. It positions the round speakers on its head, so its ears, to assail foes with ultrasonic waves at massive volume. It builds up power by stomping the ground. So the Pokedex entries basically all say the same thing. There's sound waves, air pressure, muscles, ears are speakers. We need to kind of get into the mindset of what is this raw force? We have to think about the immediate impact and potential physical effect of this sound in the real world environment. If we're really going to talk about Loudred, well, if it's not just using sound, it's using air pressure, we can do that. Now, this is not a game theory. This is not math and science. I don't know math and science. I'm going to be stealing from people that are smarter than me. So peer reviewed and not stealing because they're published articles that will be linked in the description. Everyone gets credit if they're part of something. Anyways, So a real world sound environment, we would have to take something like a plane or swimming or something that causes that difference in air pressure and altitude. Now, the reason I say that it has to be something with air pressure and altitude, it's also the wave of air pressure that blows opponents away. So if it is really using air pressure, first of all, that as a force is kind of, I've never thought of air pressure as like a force, but what do I know? I'm not Hank Green, so it takes air pressure and it uses it to release a really loud voice. So then I started to bridge the gap between Loudred and the experience I felt while on a plane. My ears were popping. The idea of this fantastical ability is a very real human experience. I mean, have we really been blown away by sound? No. But if we're talking about air pressure or just like the wind, yeah. So then that leads me to my next question is wind and air pressure the same? I don't know. I've looked up a couple of different things and I could not tell you. On one hand, I want to say yes. I want to say that, yeah, air pressure is like the same thing as wind because they're both in the air. And so, you know, it's in the sky and the atmosphere and stuff because I don't know. I want to say that. And also like atmospheric pressure is like a really big thing from some of these articles I was reading and like studies where it's like sound moves. I think it's moves slower in higher altitudes because of the temperature. Hold on, I'll get there. It's like sound moves slower in higher altitudes because of lower pressure, because of lower temperature, and therefore, why does anyone care about this? I don't know, but this is where my brain went, and so now you get to hear me ramble about it. Or choose to watch something or someone else. That's fine too. Maybe, here's a crazy idea. Some scientist out there uses this video as a way to talk about atmosphere and stuff. I don't know. Anyways, and so there's something that's going on with temperature and sound. There is something there. And so that's like a very real human experience that we can relate to. So then if we're talking about like planes and air pressure, then that got me thinking next about planes. And where have I seen planes that like push people? Mission Impossible, the movie starring Tom Cruise. And he's on the outside of a plane holding on. And so that might just be speed though. I don't know. Then the next movie I thought of was like The Dark Knight Rises when Bane was like shooting people. But then they like heard the sound of the gun in that movie. And then like even Bane at one point is like, I think they're wondering why you would shoot them before dropping them out of a plane. But the sound is very clearly heard from the gun. So then I was all types of confused. I don't know where this is going. Anyways, and so air pressure. And so it does like control sound and like sound pushes things and people away because it's like wind, I guess. Because it's air, it uses air pressure. The Loudred uses air pressure to push Team Rocket into the stratosphere. That science. And so then going from there, I started thinking about like the ear popping phenomenon. And I was like, let's talk about that. And so then I learned about Eustachian tubes, the space between the eardrum and the little ear bones. And they're used to like ventilate. And like, so then I was reading more about it. And those are the reason your ears pop. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. But like, why do your ears pop? And so then what it is it's like, it's that feeling of pressure in your middle ear and it causes your tubes to open. And when they open, the pressure can equalize, and which is like equilibrium, but not really, because I think that's a different term. I don't know. And so they like open and it equalizes and then your eardrums move, which is exactly where they need to be. And that's the feeling of the pop. The pop is like your eardrums moving. Now, where exactly do they move? I don't know. Don't ask me. And so the tubes provide a more constant equalization of the middle ear pressure, which is a direct quote. So if there's a constant equalization of the middle ear, that trades off your middle ear won't get infected anymore or something. Don't know. I didn't know eardrums moved, but they do.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
You have to go into like the pop sensation, and it's like the physiological response to the increase in pressure. So then I looked up, what if I didn't have those? What if I didn't have something to like equalize pressure? And it causes like your eardrum to burst, or like permanent hearing, and that like permanent hearing loss, and like that's like a thing that happens if your ears like don't pop. So then you have to do a physics face off, and I don't know anything about physics, but then I had to compare Loudred roar versus pop in my ear. The mechanisms kind of differentiate. So it's like sound pressure or sound wave pressure from Loudred and the static air pressure differential, which is altitude, are like two very different things, and we can probably quantify them. I don't know how, so I'm not going to. But what you can do is you can say to yourself, like, what is the difference between like hearing a really loud sound versus the air pressure causing your ears to like move? But either way, none of them blow you away. Like, that's what I was trying to figure out, is like this, it's a similar sensation. So in generation 8, I think they changed it to talk about not like the muscles and stuff, because then that just means that it's like Celine Dion type singing. Shout out Celine Dion, she's so talented. Anyways, it's also interesting that like the human body also can do that. I mean, if you think about it, because it's like we all have our limits, but like our body has mechanisms in it to like prevent us from reaching our limits, or like to like tone it back, like a car shifting gears kind of. Whoa, is it Eustachian tubes just your ears switching gears? I'm gonna be up all night. I don't know. Here's what I'm gonna do, guys. This would be crazy. I am going to reach out to exactly two really big science YouTubers, and I'm gonna ask them to help me figure this out. Maybe I'll interview them if they say yes. I don't think they will. I'll send them the video, and maybe they can help us, because I don't know anything about anything. But all I wanted to say is that Pokedex entries are weird. That was like the whole point of the video, is Pokedex entries don't make any sense, and they're so funny if you really start to like read them. And something I started to like look at more is like how many Pokedex entries are out there that are just like not accurate, or like just are humanly accurate but like don't make any sense. And that brought me to this guy, Mag Cargo. His Pokedex entry is by far, I think many people have talked about this. This is a very real, very accurate Pokedex entry from Black and White 2, Diamond and Pearl, and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and Alpha Sapphire. All use the same exact phrase. It says Mag Cargo. Its body temperature is 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Alpha Sapphire says if the Pokemon is caught in the raindrops instantly turn into steam, cloaking the area in a thick fog. I don't even think water would make it to an 18,000 degree thing. Emerald talks about it living tens of thousands of years spent living in volcanic craters, turned my cargo bodies into magma. It has 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit, flame bursts from its shell, and it's all made of magma. And that's super interesting, which leads me to say there's no way that's like, that can't be scientifically accurate. And I don't really know how I got into magma and the Earth's crust and the layers and volcanoes. Maybe I'll do a deep dive on that. But all I wanted to say was your ears pop because of ET tubes. If you thought that was interesting, feel free to like and subscribe to see other videos, or maybe you think I'm an idiot, in which case you're probably right. Join the live stream whenever I stream, because I still haven't, and we'll figure that out. Please subscribe, please comment, like the video, tell all your friends all about Loudred, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.